I just checked with Life Care Center, their management, and they say family members are still being turned away, told they cannot visit. They don't want people going in there.
This is the busiest transit corridor in Seattle, with buses going down 3rd here, down to Pine Street, where people are trying to get off and then go over to Westlake Station. Come home safe. Thank you, first responders. Dozens of these signs for the firefighters who've been working around the clock to try to save homes. For many people who live on the island where the plane crashed, this is the only way to get there. They've been lining up here at the ferry terminal all day. Just before we went on air, a man walking past was talking to a police officer over here, and he said, "I've never seen the Strip so somber." But a few of them did express some reservations, wondering if airlines might pull back demand for the very popular 737, and then what would that mean for jobs in the long run? Some of the ballot boxes like this one filled up. They were totally full this morning, and no one could put their ballots in them. Doctors think this could widen substantially because dozens of people visited this place over the past week and could be at risk.
People who tried to visit their family members at Life Care Center of Kirkland were turned away.
They just said no visitors today for the safety of the patients and the people coming in.
2 people, a caretaker in her 40s and a resident in her 70s, tested positive for coronavirus, and doctors are concerned an outbreak may be happening here. Public Health King County says more than 50 others associated with Life Care who have respiratory symptoms are being monitored. Some are quarantined.
I know they'll do the best they can to contain it.
Early Saturday afternoon, Kirkland firefighters showed up wearing protective gear and loaded a patient into an ambulance. You're not getting any answers?
None. Zero. Zilch.
I spoke on the phone with Pat Patton of Kirkland, whose wife lives at Life Care and is recovering from a stroke. He has not been able to reach her. So you're concerned that there may have been an exposure here?
Yes. I'm personal exposure as well as for my wife.
Because you've been visiting her, right?
Yes. I visit her every day, sometimes twice a day. You couldn't help but worry about her being there, but you'd be more worried if it happened to be one of her roommates. I'm sure they're doing what they need to do or what they've been told to do.
Both of the people who tested positive for coronavirus here are in the hospital. The healthcare worker is in satisfactory condition, and the resident is in serious condition. And I have some new information we just got in the past few minutes. This is about Lake Washington Institute of Technology. I'm told 16 of their nursing students visited this nursing home in the days before these people were diagnosed with coronavirus.
Our second exclusive tonight involves the plane stolen by a Horizon Air employee that crashed on Ketron Island. As King 5's Ted Land found out, the family who owns the property says a month after that fiery crash, they are still left with a mess and also misunderstandings about who's responsible for cleaning it all up.
4 times a day, a ferry churns toward Ketron Island, a remote thumb of forest tucked in a corner of Puget Sound. Population 17.
This is complete isolation. It's solitude.
Tiffany Lundgren has been coming here since she was a child. Her dad bought a bunch of property in the 70s, and this has always been a quiet getaway.
Sunrise, sunset, it literally is the most gorgeous, in my opinion, it's the most gorgeous piece of Ketron Island. Or was.
Today, that pristine escape is littered with shards of a commercial airplane.
It's everywhere.
Lundgren's childhood playground became the final resting place for thousands of pieces of a stolen Horizon Air Q400 plane, which slammed into the woods in August. Salvage crews cleared out the big pieces several weeks ago, but today it's not hard to find plenty of reminders of what happened here.
Oh my God. Look at that. Are you kidding me?
Lundgren is frustrated that the plane's owner, Alaska Airlines, is taking so long to finish cleanup, and she says they have not done a good job of explaining their next steps.
They've had my number, they've had my email. I haven't heard from them. I had to reach out to them.
King 5 reached out to Alaska as well, explaining Lundgren's concerns, and within hours the airline responded. While visiting Lundgren's property, I showed her Alaska's statement on my cell phone, outlining the company's plans to clean up and restore the property, including planting new trees.
It's very encouraging. Now I just hope they follow through with it.
To a first-time observer, this may seem like an unremarkable clearing.
Everywhere there's pieces of wire.
But to her, it's a wound on a place that's meant a lot to her family.
Oh, there's the memorial.
And is now a sacred site for another family. Someone recently left this small memorial for Richard Russell, the Horizon employee who stole the plane and took the final flight.
It just makes me sad for everybody involved.
It's quiet once more on Ketron Island, but scars remain.
It was like the magical hidden forest. So to walk onto here now, it's just sad.
Morning, folks.
When something goes wrong in Port Orchard,
It's pretty crazy.
people know to visit Craig Kennedy.
3 houses away, the house, the trees fell on it, demolished.
Right after the EF2 Twister touched down a few miles from here,
No problem, buddy.
Kennedy invited anyone impacted to eat for free at his restaurant, that one place.
I broke down in tears. I mean, I try to be a tough, macho guy, but this is our family and friends. It's devastating.
This is situation normal for him. If there's a need, he answers it. He gives free meals when people have family tragedies. We've seen it when people have lost their homes to fire.
In the wake of the storm, it's become a kind of donation center. Some are handing over wads of cash to pay for their neighbors' meals. Others are delivering supplies.
All kinds of donations, clothes, blankets.
3 turkeys.
3 turkeys and 5 hams.
And 5 hams.
I've even had servers from other restaurants call and say, hey, can I come over and we don't know your system, but can we help out?
We'll get a lot done.
Darren Corliss and Tim Roller were among a group of contractors standing by to head into the disaster zone.
These guys are chomping at the bit to get in there and help. They really are. They can't wait to get in there and do it.
This has always been more than a diner, where generosity is as big as the pancakes.
The Lord blesses us.
Just look outside the front door, where there's a rack of free clothing and supplies for homeless people.
I was raised in Port Orchard in the 90s when meth was a really bad problem here, and so I'm an ex-junkie. I've been to prison twice, have a big long list of felonies.
Kennedy cleaned up his life, opened this business in 2011, and hired people seeking a second or third chance.
They're all ex-prisoners, ex-junkies that are making a difference now.
No one needed to declare this a relief center.
To work here, you just got to kind of have it in your heart.
It already was.
We're just trying to help out any way we can.
In Port Orchard, Ted Lamb, King 5 News.
5753 cell tower.
On a busy morning at SeaTac Airport, airlines hurry to stay on time. But at gate C9, everything slows down.
Thank you very much.
Susan Woods is sending off her husband of 37 years, Sergeant Major James Tony Woods, an Army veteran who fought in Vietnam and retired in Olympia. Woods died in April and asked that he be laid to rest near the nation's capital.
He wanted to be buried in Arlington, and as the recipient of the Silver Star, he was more than eligible to be buried in Arlington.
We're going to go ahead and start boarding.
A Puget Sound honor flight happened to be heading that way, carrying dozens of vets to visit monuments and memorials. With just a few days' notice, Alaska Airlines activated a company-wide program designed to ensure military families like the Woods are treated with the utmost respect. It's a growing effort, driven primarily by the workers who keep this carrier moving.
As soon as the airline gets the call to transport a fallen service member's remains, a brigade of volunteers and employees, many of them veterans, mobilizes to provide a final, dignified journey.
My name is Dan. I work for Alaska Airlines, and I'm part of the Fallen Soldier program.
Dan Brosh is an LA-based maintenance trainer. In 2011, he and other workers approached their managers with a concern. The company should show more respect when transporting military members who die.
Unfortunately, all air carriers were handling the remains of fallen veterans like cargo. No longer is that the case with Alaska Airlines and other airlines.
The bosses listened, and today the Alaska Airlines Fallen Soldier program includes special protocols and equipment stationed in an expanding list of cities.
How you doing? Thank you for being here.
In Phoenix last week, Brosh and his team handed over a custom cart, specifically for carrying flag-draped caskets.
All right, let it roll.
This is cart number 10. Others are on standby at airports across the country, and that's just one layer of the program. The airline now has 2 military-themed jets, which it reroutes, sometimes at a moment's notice, to carry veterans and their families.
It's no simple task, but they do it every single time. And if they don't, it's because it's almost impossible to do.
During loading and unloading, baggage handlers and maintenance workers become pallbearers.
I did not know about this until we actually had to experience on our own.
Julia Schmidtke, an Alaska flight attendant from Tacoma, understands how much all this means to families in a fog of grief. Her son, 25-year-old Army Specialist Hunter Schmidtke, died last year, and her airline colleagues stood at attention at SeaTac to bring Hunter home.
It heals you. It heals you as you're going through the hardest time you can ever imagine.
This way, just a smidge.
Employees who participate in the Fallen Soldier program do so on their own time.
Does that get it? Yep.
And they want to do more. They have a goal of building a fallen soldier cart for every airport Alaska serves.
Hey, that looks good, fellas.
These represent a rare part of the ultra-competitive industry where rivalry is set aside. Alaska says any airline can use its carts. Back in Seattle, it's the moment they've so carefully planned.
Can I step up to it? I'll see you soon, dear.
Susan Woods will join her husband at Arlington National Cemetery for a ceremony next month. For a few minutes, a corner of SeaTac stood still, and the honors came early.
He got more than he asked for here. A lot more.
Ted Land, King 5 News.